So we'll go ahead and get started. Some people might trickle in. In order to save time, we're not going to do our icebreaker we had planned, but at the end maybe. My name's Jessica Elam, and up until last week, I was the graduate assistant at FAU for supplemental instruction, and I actually just recently got a job at UMKC, the birthplace of SI and the international program, with Kate Gold there. Again, if anybody is interested, I know Miami, you guys are interested in SI program, you need to sit at her lunch table and talk to her, because SI is a great program. And last semester, if you came to, I don't see anybody that was at my session last semester, but we bit off a little bit more than we could chew. We tried to go through our entire recruiting, interviewing, training, evaluation process in a 50-minute session, and we ran out of time, and we did our icebreaker. So you live and you learn, and so now we're kind of zoning in on one specific aspect that I think has been monumentally helpful in not only the running of our SI program, but just in the dividing up of our resources, because we, as most of you are doing a lot of stuff with a little bit of money, so kind of getting the most out of our SI leaders in the idea of mentoring. And I'm going to kick it over to Michelle. She'll introduce herself.
Good morning, my name is Michelle Papania. I hope that everyone is doing well today. I'm really excited to speak to you today about our peer mentoring program. I am currently an SI leader and a peer mentor. I'm also an adjunct faculty member at Florida Atlantic University. I teach substance abuse. I've been with the SI program for over 3 years now, and because I really love it that much and I really believe in SI. And just like every other new SI leader, I was terrified when I started and had lots and lots of questions. So I really see the value of this peer mentoring program because, you know, it alleviates so much of the anxiety that new SI leaders have coming in that, you know, many of us who have been with the program a long time experience going forward. Okay. So I want to just begin by telling you a little bit about our institution. Okay, so we are currently 30,000 plus students strong across all of our campuses, so we've grown by leaps and bounds over the last few years. We have students from every county in Florida as well as all 50 states. All right, so we're a very diverse campus, people from all over the country as well as all over the state, as well as many international students as well. 50% of our student body is classified as minority or international. So one of the real beauties about our campus, about our institution, is that it is so diverse. We have people from every country, from every walk of life, you know, that really contribute to the diversity and the enhancement of education at our institution. That's something that we're very proud of. Okay? It happens to make us one of the most diverse institutions in the Florida State University system. And currently we offer 180 undergraduate as well as graduate degree programs. I'm a graduate of FAU. I got my bachelor's degree in 1997, and I came back to pursue my master's degree and graduated in 2013. So I love the institution so much that I decided to come back.
All right, and then we're just going to do a little background on the academic support offered at FAU through the Office of Student Retention / the class office now, as Jen mentioned. However, don't have to go too in depth because how many of you got the tour yesterday at FAU? A good amount of you, so you got some of our information, our background, but I'm just going to give it a little bit more so you kind of see what we're dealing with and why we kind of had moved over to using our student support to help move our program forward. So in fall 2007, we started with SI. I was actually one of the first SI leaders in one course with 8 SI leaders, one for every section. Now we have over 40 SI leaders in about 20 different courses on the main Boca campus as well as the Davie campus. So we're spreading out and we've been growing and growing strong ever since 2007. And then, can you go ahead and click? Yes. Thank you. So in spring 2011, we started tutoring. Wrong session? Yes. You're good.
I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, this is the wrong one. Sorry.
It's good. Oh, it's alright. It's alright. I'll see you around. So, in spring 2011, we were able to start tutoring through a grant-funded program called the Academic and Career Enhancement for Second-Year Students. I should get a cookie just for saying that and remembering that. But for Academic Career Enhancement for Struggling Second-Year Students, it was a Title III Department of Education grant. And we started, it's a very intrusive, they go to advising, career counseling, as well as meeting with tutors. And that's how we were able to kind of get our tutoring, dip our toe in the water, per se. And you can go ahead and go to the next one. All right, and then we moved to the CTL, which those of you who took the tour, that was the area that you were in. Before that, we were in what is now the barber shop, which is about the size of this room at FAU. The Office of Retention, all of our SI leaders, all of our tutors were housed in that little area. Then we moved to SU, and then we finally got that big, awesome space, and we're growing out of it. I think Michelle can attest, we are constantly growing out of that space, so we need a whole building. I always say, if I win the lotto, I'm building them a building. Even though I'm not there anymore, I'm still going to build them a building.
And we'll name it in your honor.
Elam Center, that's right. All right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and move on. All right, so in fall 2012, and I actually think that it is 2013, I think that might be a typo on my part, but we started e-success and e-tutoring. So a lot of and one of the big things with the idea of the mini hats is that a majority of our SI leaders, because the mentoring is mainly for SI leaders, but they are also tutors as well as e-tutors, a good portion of them. They wear many hats. The hat that we wear as administrators, we pass it on to our student employees. So that's kind of where it comes into play. And then one more, just this semester, we started, and there is a session I think later today, the last session, on Get Wise, kind of joining with housing on our campus and having a space specifically within one of the larger housing units of Glades Park Towers at FAU, in which there's tutoring offered, every form of tutoring. We have SI leaders that go there and do sessions. We have general drop-in tutoring, but only for people in that building, trying to kind of get the students that are on campus to take part in those resources, because they're now right in their building. They just got to go downstairs. They can wear their pajamas and it's all good to go. So we also now have moved our students over there. Okay, so that's a little bit of the history. It's a lot. So, and then just click one more time. So why peer mentoring? So it's this is kind of be a why, who, and then how are you going to do it? That's how we're going to move through this presentation. So this is an example of how I break down their schedules at the beginning of the term. This is a typical SI leader schedule. The X's are when they have classes, when they are busy, okay? And then these here, the purples, are their SI sessions in those rooms that you saw in the CTL, okay? Access, anything denoted as access is that academic and career enhancement tutoring that I spoke of before. That has very specific, curtailed requirements of them. When they are tutoring an access student, it's very different. They have to, what do you have to do, Michelle?
We have to make notes to their academic advisors in tutor track. We have to call them if they don't attend their session. We have to inform their advisors if they don't attend a session. And if we feel that there's something that the advisor needs to be aware of, we'll send progress reports to those advisors. So it's quite a structured program because, again, it's geared to get those students back on track. We're trying to save them academically. And so they're monitored very closely, not only by their advisors, but with the help of SI leaders and tutors.
Okay, so that's only for access students. So then this blue area here is their general tutoring hours, and they now take place in they could take place in two separate areas. The CTL, which you guys toured, and then now, just this semester, GPT, that housing I talked about with the Get Wise program. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff, and I have one more example. In the meetings, just to note, because I was just in a great session talking about how you have 4 different meetings, we require that before they even apply, they have Friday from 3 to 5 unbooked. It's a requirement to even be considered for interview, because we try and get them all together. We think, and we do breakouts very similar to a conference and everything, but we do require that they all have that time available. Only special circumstances are made if by chance that doesn't happen.
And I believe it's been very rare circumstances that we've had individual students who are unable to attend a meeting for one reason or another. Typically Friday afternoons are not an issue with class times for most students.
Exactly. And then here, last one too, e-tutor. So it's just to show that all those hats that I was showing, they all apply right here, okay? So she's also e-tutors for 2 hours, which has a whole nother task and responsibilities that they have to do in regards to what they do as an e-tutor. I won't delve into that because I'm not that technologically savvy, but there's a lot. And then here's another example of kind of what we ask of our leaders. It's 2 pages, and this is in their training binder at the beginning of the semester. It's a breakdown of what we do. They obviously have their 2-day training here, as I think a majority of larger SI sessions have that preterm training. So we have that in the beginning, and that's where we go over all this. And I know this is a 2-day conference, really only 1 day, and how many of you feel that when you leave, you're going to be able to remember everything, go back and talk to your administrators about it, without reaching back and contacting somebody? Exactly, okay? And it's the same thing for our SI leaders and our tutors. That's why we went to the mentoring model a little bit and rely heavily on our star leaders, which I'll get into a little bit more. Also, we ask a lot. We do ask a lot of our leaders. We do pay them, so that's good. For anything we do ask them to do. There's some volunteer, but we don't force them to do that. And in addition, the way we kind of pitch our job is that we're understanding if you have an exam or something like that, we may shift your hours to help you make sure you're prepared for that exam. In addition, if you go and work at an outside tutoring or try and charge $25 to a student, we have a huge problem with people outside trying to tutor and charge a ridiculous amount of money. That doesn't come with a reference letter, right? Joe Schmo on the street that you tutor for 25 bucks an hour, you might be a great tutor, but when you're going to get into graduate school, which let's face it, after a bachelor's degree, you're gonna wanna get into graduate school for the most part, and it doesn't come with a reference letter. And we write great reference letters. Michelle?
Yes.
Great
Absolutely.
reference letters. Great reference letters, okay? And that's really something to hit when you're pitching this to new SI leaders that you're trying to bring onto your team, because we do ask a lot of them, okay? And then just a point of that, this Just Ask campaign recently, we have launched a Just Ask campaign. I think last fall we started it, and it's basically the first week of the semester. Various offices throughout the entire university go and just get volunteers. Sometimes I will be out there, full-time staff will be out there, and we just literally stand out there and see the freshmen are like, you need some help? How you doing? How you doing? And we get our SI leaders out there, because then they can go, oh yeah, this is actually right by where my session is. What's your schedule? Oh, that's awesome. I know that SI leader. You need to go to SI. It's awesome. And I went to SI. I mean, I was the first SI leader, but best believe I lie, and I'm like, I went to SI all the time. It's the only way I passed. Okay, we have our SI leaders do that too. The best people to sell the program are the SI leaders, so we use them for that all the time. In addition to breezeway tabling, can you go to the next one? Sorry. So in here you have all the meetings, when the timesheets are due, all that fun stuff. Okay. We also have Upbound Night, which is an event that Jen mentioned in the tour a little bit. It's a late night study event. How many of you have late night breakfast? Breakfast? I don't know. Breakfast. There you go. How many of you have that on your campus the day before exams start? Quite a bit, right? We've had it forever and a day, and then about 3 years ago, they came to our office and like, we want to implement an academic element to that. I'm like, okay. So we do what's called Up Owl Night. Our mascot's the owls, so Up Owl Night. And basically what we do is from 3 to 11, the dinner starts, or breakfast rather, starts at 11. And from 3 to 11, we just have our SI leaders commit, SI leaders and tutors, 3 hours. We pay them for it, commit 3 of their hours to do a 2-hour review and then an hour of tutoring. Okay, just like I said, all our SI leaders also double as tutors. Every single person in our office wears at least 2 hats. Okay?
Some more.
Yeah, some more. Very true. But as we do, administrators, right? So we just pass that along because it's what they're going to encounter in the real world. Okay? So that is an example, and we have to advertise for that. And we had to advertise really heavily for that. That area you walk through in FAU, that breezeway the breezeway area, you saw this table set up, wasn't quite as busy, but it generally is busy between the hours of 10 and 2, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, crazy busy. We have them out there. Again, students are selling the program better than you're going to sell the program. I consider myself a great salesperson. I really do, bless you. But nobody can sell it better than a student, than an actual peer. Because they're the ones that were in the shoes, most likely last semester or maybe a little bit before that. And they can walk into their class and explain to them, hey, stop by Up All Night, it's fun, you get breakfast, and you learn a little something. Okay? So that's just an example of what we ask of them to do and why a peer mentoring program is so necessary. And go to the next one. See where we're at. Oh, and Michelle's going to take it. Another more why we do what we do is an example, and then I'll delve in a little bit.
Okay, so as Jessica pointed out, training is only 2 days long, and it is a lot. It's 16 hours of training, but you're thrown so much information to these students, and to try to remember all of those details. And you're probably feeling a little nervous and a little overwhelmed. Maybe for some individuals this is the first job that they've had. So one of the important reasons that we really love our peer mentoring program is because it gives the peer mentors an opportunity to not only assist the newcomers, but also to give the newcomers a resource so that the administrative staff isn't completely bogged down, because of course they've got 1,000,001 things to do, right? Especially as the semester ramps up. So I just wanted to include a couple of typical emails and texts that I've gotten over the years as a peer mentor. And you can see, I've got, this happens to be one of my mentees from this semester. Hi Michelle, how you doing? And then boom, 6 questions right off the bat. Just sort of, rapid fire coming at you. And this is quite typical, right? To get this type of an email from a student at the beginning. What's important to know, at least in my opinion, is that a happy student is a happy employee. So when you bring a new SI leader or tutor in, if that is a happy student, if that student feels that they're supported, if that student feels that they have resources, they are going to be much more productive and capable in doing their jobs. And that's really what we're striving for, right? To put the best foot forward so that our program and the students benefit from that.
And I just want to note that, like you see access tutoring, and then the idea of we don't tutor in the first week, so that's when they're advertising. That they still work, we still pay them for that first week. They're not tutoring, but they're running around and they're advertising for our program. And there's a question in there, Jess, there's my name, because I'm telling them to do all sorts of stuff. So usually the emails are about me.
Yes, very often the emails are about Jess. Jess said this, Jess said that. Right?
Say a lot.
But they're afraid to go to Jess, so that they're...
No! Everybody loves Jess.
Everybody loves Jess.
Could be scared of me.
But one of the things that I really pointed out, can you go back to that?
Oh, I'm so sorry, yeah.
That's okay. It was right down here. I apologize for all the questions. I'm a bit nervous. And that's very common for students to actually feel bad about asking these questions, but we try to drive home to them that they should never feel bad about asking questions. We are their resource, and we welcome their questions. We would rather take their questions and assist them than have them struggle. And yes, they are nervous, right? And so hopefully by working with them one-on-one and giving them the tools they need to be successful, we can alleviate some of those nerves, right? And that really comes through loud and clear in the SI sessions. And then I had to include thanks for being such a great mentor. So a little shameless self-promotion there. Right, here's another one that I received. Again, just clarifying information that was talked about at one of our bi-weekly meetings. I think this is what I heard, but is that correct? And again, I just verify. And then, so I answer one question, and then typically I get another follow-up email. Thanks for answering that, but by the way, here's another question. Right, and that's what we see here. Okay, thanks, but by the way, can you give me some tips? So as a mentor, we're not only giving them information about their obligations, the many obligations that they have to meet in terms of their duties of being an SI leader and a tutor, but also how to conduct SI sessions. Right? And that's what this question is about. Right? I've never conducted a 2-hour exam review. Can you give me some tips about how I might do that? So we're assisting them in content. We're assisting them in developing and presenting their sessions, as well as keeping up with and attending to all the many obligations that they have as an SI leader and a tutor. Right, in addition to emails, I get texts, I get phone calls. I make it clear to all of my mentees, as soon as I introduce myself, that you can contact me in any way, shape, or form that you feel comfortable. Here's my email address, here's my phone number, you can call me, you can text me, you can leave me voicemails, right? It's important to make yourself as available as possible, right? So that they know that whatever the time of day, they can reach out to someone. And I've gotten texts and emails, quite late at night. I try to be there, to answer as well as I can. The reason that I love this particular text, this is one of our veteran SI leaders. She was one of my first mentees, and she's now been with us for over a year. But even at that, I still get texts and email questions from her, even though she herself is now a veteran SI leader. So the peer mentor-mentee relationship doesn't just stop at the first semester. It tends to continue on because you develop those relationships and people feel comfortable coming to you with questions. So I think it's great that even my original mentees still reach out to me for help or reach out to me when they have questions. And again, just to show you that it's casual, it's not a formal thing. Again, not only do we want to make ourselves as accessible, But we also want to be casual. We don't want it to be so formal because we're trying to put them at ease. We're trying to make them comfortable. Right? So, smiley faces, whatever. There were a few from one of my mentees that wasn't exactly G-rated, so I didn't include that in there. Right? But we tried to be as casual and fun as possible. Again, our goal is to put everybody at ease.
And I just want to say that this isn't unique to Michelle. Now, Michelle is awesome, but we say at training, I introduce them to their mentors. I take a lot of time in figuring out who their mentor is going to be, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later. But it is not unique to Michelle. We say, take out your phones, exchange numbers. That, like, right at the beginning, and we make it clear that is what's going to happen. And we say, because you have employees that just aren't that prone to ask questions, even if they're confused. They're going to do it wrong, have an issue, and then they'll learn that way. They learn through error. It's to eliminate that. We make sure that our mentors are approachable, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. This is just a screenshot from Michelle's binder. It's kind of what I do. I do want to note, and I will talk about it a little bit later, that we do not Michelle is not a mentor by pay, meaning she does this in her time. It's other duties as assigned, basically. We don't have specific mentors that we pay. All our mentors are veteran SI leaders, and not all veteran SI leaders are mentors, but all of our mentors are veteran SI leaders and are currently SI leaders, because I think you noticed in the program or whatever, the title of this is peer mentoring. Peer mentoring. What would you define peer as? Just real quick, what do you say a peer is?
Someone like you.
Someone like you, right? It doesn't
relate to.
Exactly. So despite the fact that mentors may have been an SI leader before, which is awesome, it's great. But the honest fact is, you're no longer a peer. You're a cohort. You're no longer a peer because you're not in that position anymore. You're not in that position anymore. How do I have 2 exams coming up and I have a review I have to do for my own students? What am I going to do? All of our students have this huge heart, and our employees have this huge heart, and all they want to do is help and be successful and help other students be successful, and it's hard to find that balance. Who better to talk to than a student who's currently going through a master's program doing the same thing? It's real peer mentoring.
I'm exactly in your shoes. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm precisely in your shoes. So I just wanted to point out, so at the beginning of training, so you'll see I have veteran leader designated on my tag. At the beginning of training, we also have tags that we wear, and it designates who the veteran leaders are. So as Jessica pointed out, you're not only mentoring those individuals that are specifically assigned to you, but you're there to assist anyone, right, that needs guidance, that needs assistance, that needs help, that has questions that need to be answered. So we tend to point ourselves out. Right, I'm a veteran leader. If for some reason you can't get a hold of your mentor, I'm here, I'm available to help, and all of our SI peer mentors and veteran leaders are more than happy to do that. So we put ourselves out there and we make ourselves available to anyone who might need assistance, not just our specifically assigned mentees.
So next, Michelle's going to go into what to look for in a mentor a little more specifically. I know in some cases, and this is just from my administrative brain. In some cases, I know a lot of people, it's like 10 to 1 or 5 to 1. It's generally more so a 1 to 1. Maybe Michelle takes on a little bit more. They call her SI mommy.
I'm SI mommy.
She takes on a little bit more. But more often than not, we have one new person with more than one mentor. Actually, it's vice versa. Okay, somebody who is an e-tutor, but then somebody who's really great with being on the ball and things like that. And then she's going to delve in a little bit more to that. Okay?
All right, so I decided to use stars because very often the assistant director, the director, and the GAs refer to us as superstars, so I thought I would have the star designating what it is that we actually look for. But before I actually put any words up there, that's okay. Just take a moment and in your mind's eye, think about somebody who mentored you, who assisted you as you were coming up or trying to develop new skills or in a new position. And think about some of the characteristics that person had that were most helpful to you. Right? Maybe make a mental note or jot some of those down. And then as I go through what we actually look for in a peer mentor, see how many of those, all right, actually came to your mind when you think about those individuals who mentored you and who helped you along the way. Right? Okay? So obviously the first thing we want to look for is leadership skills. Somebody who has the ability to take charge, to be a little bit directive, but not to be overbearing. We don't want overbearing mentors, but we certainly want students who aren't afraid to take the bull by the horns, to be a leader, right, and to guide individual students. Right? So we're definitely looking for leadership skills. Self-starters. So obviously, in order for a peer mentoring program to be successful, you need individual students who are self-starters, who are willing to take charge on their own. If all of our peer mentors went to the GAs and the assistant directors, that would sort of defeat the purpose of having a peer mentoring program. Right? So we're looking for students who are self-directed, self-starters, right, who are experienced, and we'll get to that in a moment, but again, who don't necessarily feel that they have to rely on administrative staff because they've already been appropriately trained. That's one of the main purposes of the program, right, is to free up their time so that they can do their assigned duties. Okay, obviously we want knowledge. So really what we're looking for here, and Jessica's going to talk about how peer mentors are paired with individual mentees, and one of those is by content area. So, for example, I have been an SI leader and a tutor in Anatomy and Physiology 1, Anatomy and Physiology 2, and Exercise Physiology, right? So the biological sciences. So my mentees are also SI leaders and tutors in the biological science, right? Where I have the same content knowledge that they have. Even if I haven't done SI or tutoring in that specific course, I've at least taken that course as a student. So I understand what it is that they're dealing with in SI sessions, trying to put material together, trying to present that material in the most effective way, right, during their tutoring and their SI sessions. So we always want very knowledgeable students, right, who can then, in specific content areas, that can assist their mentees in presenting that information in the best way possible. Obviously, we need our peer mentors to be approachable, right? If a peer mentor is not approachable, then they're really not mentoring anybody, right? So they have to be willing to put themselves out there, to be approachable, to be a little bit casual and easygoing, but also to be to give constructive criticism, right, when it's warranted. We do peer observations, which I believe that you're going to talk about, right? So we're always encouraged to observe our mentees at least once throughout the semester and to offer constructive criticism, right? But to be able to do that in a kind way. Okay, we're looking for somebody who's charismatic, right? If you're having to work with someone and pay attention to someone and go through some very mundane details, right, about all of the obligations of your job, then having somebody who can be a little upbeat and charismatic is going to make that information more exciting. It's going to make it's really going to excite them and to foster enthusiasm within themselves to want to do a really good job of being an SI leader and a tutor. So that charisma rubs off, and it really makes them excellent presenters as well. And we look for experienced SI leaders. So we look at SI leaders who have successfully juggled those many hats that Jessica referred to. So having their own class loads, working a job, having family obligations, social obligations, and then meeting all of the work obligations that are related to supplemental instruction. So individuals who are experienced in keeping all of those balls in the air and doing a really good job at that. Obviously, we want individuals with super communication skills. Right? These are individuals who communicate well with faculty, who communicate well with staff, who communicate well with students, who communicate well with their fellow SI leaders and tutors, so their peers. Right? And the communication styles will vary depending on who you're talking to. And it's not just verbal communication skills, but it's written communication skills. When we send out email communications to the students in our courses that we tutor and do SI for, we have to copy our professors, right? And so we always want to put ourselves in the best light, present ourselves in the best light, so strong communication skills are vitally important so that we make ourselves look good to the instructors. Right? That's important in order to foster really strong relationships with faculty members. Right? So it's being able to communicate with people across the board, verbally as well as in written communication. And looking for individuals who are empathetic and eager to help. So again, this is a peer mentoring program, so we're looking at individuals who are in the same shoes as the individuals that they are mentoring. Right? So being able to understand and empathize with that individual about what's going on with them and all of the struggles that it is sometimes to keep all of those balls in the air, right? And so to have empathy, right? But also we're looking for individuals who are eager to help. We don't want individuals who are so helpful that they harm their own academics, right? And we've probably all seen that, sadly, right? People who are so willing to help that they forget they have their own academic classes and course load to attend to. But we do want them to be generally helpful individuals. And we have the Jessica rule as a result of that. Would you like to explain the Jessica rule?
I overdo things. I used to give like 6, 7, not used to, up until I left, like 8 hours of review in a week for an exam and like not study for my own classes. I like helping people. So it's a rule now that I make the leaders, follow, but it's still follow.
Right, so we're allowed no more than 2 hours max of review time, because again, we also have our own issues to attend to, and we can't forget about
a little short on time, so I think we already hit on that one.
Yes.
And then definitely hit on the model.
Super SI model knowledge, absolutely. So again, the SI model is not an easy thing, right, to get your arms around the first time. It takes practice, just like anything else. Practice, practice, practice is what it takes. So a successful peer mentor really needs to have a good knowledge of the SI program model so that they can then mirror that to their mentees, right? Because we're always trying to follow the model. And then lastly, we're just generally looking for individuals who are just on the ball, right? And we've talked about what on the ball means, right? But that's just sort of summarizes, right, everything that we're looking for in a peer mentor.
All right, although I zoned in on one specific subject here, still running short on time, so I'm gonna, if it's possible, pick up my speech a little bit more. But successful matchups, this is something that is very, very, very important to me. I'm not one to just throw something at like flypaper and hope they stick together well. I'm in all the interviews. We do group interviews, so we see how people interact with one another right from the get-go. So I see if they're a little shyer in groups, so who are they best gonna fit with, okay? And like I said, generally when you have a hired mentor that you're paying to be a specific mentor, you run into an issue where you have one person to 100 or a bunch of different mentees, and the balance there is going to be a little off, although they are being paid specifically for that. So like I said, in a majority of the cases, we often have more than one mentee for more than one mentor for the mentee. Meaning, Michelle might be the content knowledge and the one about submitting paperwork and stuff like that, but we have one person that's really great at the e-tutoring and the advertising and gets those students to e-tutoring. And so if we have an e-tutor, Michelle's never actually e-tutored, so we'll get somebody in there that mentors for that aspect, okay? Because although Michelle would find the answer for them, we also don't want her to have to go and come and ask us and do things like that. And just for another why this is successful, how many of you think you have probably, let's say over 20 emails that you haven't seen because you've been here this morning? Over 20, right? Yeah. What if there was an email in there, or you haven't looked at your phone or something like that, or you're in meetings with directors and all that, and a student needs to know a room's locked and they don't know who they should contact, but Michelle's had that issue before, so they can just text her. It takes a little bit of the having to put out fires away from y'all. That's the main idea. And it helps our budget too, because again, it's more so, it's just setting up that friendship and that relationship. Honestly, not even mentor isn't what I'm looking for, it's a friendship and a family is what we create with our team, and that they want to help each other, so it's not a big deal to be text at midnight about things like that, because we're trying to create that friendship.
I'm up studying anyway, so it's fine.
As are most of our students. Role in preterm training, kind of hit on that slightly, but I always, for preterm training, the mentors play a big part in it. They sit next to their mentee at that point in time, and everything they go over with their mentor. We might be up there facilitating the discussion and everything, but they're always right there to ask their mentor, how does this apply to physics? Like, how am I going to do a jigsaw method with physics? You can't break down a formula like that with jigsaw. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do think, pair, share? Physics students are quiet. How are we going to do that? Because they ain't going to share. They'll do the thing. They may pair, but they ain't sharing. How are we doing that? They have their mentor to talk to them. Because I'm just an SI freak, so I'm going to be up there like, we're going to do collaboration. You're not teaching. I don't know what you say. Anything. You redirect, and you're going to redirect, and so they can go, all right, this redirection's great. How does it really get applied? Okay? Because as administrators, we have to tell them what they're supposed to do. What's really going to happen in there is that's where their mentor comes in. Okay, that's their peer.
We help them apply what they've actually learned in training.
Yeah. Role in meetings and workshops. As was mentioned in our the previous section, I think a couple retained in here. I know at least two, and myself and Michelle. You guys spoke of how they take place, the mentors take place in the team meeting. So sometimes if you can't go, maybe you get called away for a meeting or something else, you don't have to necessarily be there. Kind of the same case, we do a kind of a breakout method where the beginning is housekeeping issues, so we have to be there for that. You're not getting your attendance on time. That text from Erin to her Michelle was from recently because I was the one that got their attendance, and as I said at the beginning, I recently got a new job last week, so they're like, so who are we sending their attendance to? Despite the fact that I sent an email before I left. You still get a text.
But that shows you that people don't want to drop the ball. They don't want to be late with their attendance, so even if they miss that detail, they're going to ask their peer mentor.
Exactly. If that relationship's been established successfully. Okay, that's where a successful matchup is really important. And if I notice that something's not going right off the bat in training, I'll make a switch really quickly. Okay, and then meetings and workshops. 3 minutes. Do it well. So role in meetings and workshops. So meetings again, first hour. We had that 3 to 5 block you saw. It's usually 3 to 5, 3 to 4:30, but we do the 3 to 5 just to make sure in case we run over. Again, it's me, so I tend to talk. So general housekeeping issues, all that fun stuff. We bring in guest speakers from, as they spoke about collaboration, we'll bring in guest speakers from the athletics department to speak about tutoring student athletes, things of that nature. The psychology department, the psych department, and all that stuff. So that happens in the general meeting role, and then we break out for the last hour workshops, okay, and discipline workshops, meaning it's broken up math, business, science, and that's where they're going to work with their mentee. We leave the room. I give my mentors the breakdown on, okay, we're covering study skills, we're covering critical thinking, we're covering prioritizing in your own life and in your sessions. How are we going to apply this? Things of that nature, and they're on the ball. I'll pop in, I'll move around to the rooms, but overall, I can go answer my emails. I can go do the things I have to get done and know that the people I've entrusted to cover that portion of the discipline workshop are doing what they need to do. And then finally, peer observations and feedback. I go to every session, or the assistant director will go to session. So observation is still very much an administrative task, not so much for the peer mentors. Again, they're not paid to be doing that. This is more of a, again, friendship, relationship type thing. We're trying to connect right from the get-go. It's not your job is to evaluate and do programmatic details. That's not what we're doing here. That's my job. That's the job of the supervisor. That's the job of the director. That's the job of Jen. Jen goes to a number of sessions. But we do ask they all do peer observations as just a part of our peer evaluation format, so they all do it anyway. We say, mentees, we want you to go to your mentor, and vice versa. Okay, so we do have that there, but other than that, that's the only observation we really do. That still does fall heavily on the administrative staff to do those observations, because I think it's important. And feedback is just constant anyway. I saw, like, they'll be in office hours together, working on a worksheet or something, and be like, that's a great worksheet. Like, just that positive regard and feedback is always great, and you want to look for that in your mentor, because if you don't have it, you're going to have a mentee that feels a little lost. So you have to make sure that the mentor's on the ball and on top of it.
And just quickly with feedback, again, it's ongoing, and it doesn't have to be solicited. One of my mentees just recently won first place in our undergraduate research symposium for a poster presentation. I got her a nice little congratulations card, and she just, it really touched her, and again, it just solidifies that relationship that we have, that no matter what, we're going to work through any issue that we might have together. Right, so that's important too. Just little things. It's all about the little things in life.
So this is just for me, and actually going to some of the, I think Nova actually yesterday, they spoke of an idea of co-facilitation. This has been in my head for the past semester or so, because I go and observe sessions, and Jen goes and observes sessions, and we're the one that are most SI model-esque, and we're just like, on it, and even though they're great at training and we know they have a great mentor, but they have their own classes, they have all this stuff going on, it's a very much, despite all the training you try to provide, 16 hours or more in the beginning of the term, it's very much learn as you go. It is learn on the job, because you do not know the students that semester, you do not know the professor that semester some of the time, and it's going to be learn as you go. If the professor is very into SI, you're going to have an easier time getting attendance. If you have a little bit of a professor that's a little bit like, I'm hesitant, I'm not sure about this, you're going to have to, talk to your mentor in regards to how to get attendance and stuff like that. But more programmatic, how to be a model SI, that I think could be solved with co-facilitation. mentors or administration in the first week, if schedules permit. I think it would be a great way to make sure that they learn as they go, and they're going right from the get with a co-facilitated person that's on point, and so they have that, and they're actually doing it. Like, how many of you watch the cooking show? You watch the cooking show and you look at it and you're like, oh, I got that. We do mock sessions in the beginning. They're like, this is easy. She's just walking around, just pairing people up. So simple, right? And then you get to your session, you're like, all right. So, can you they're passive leading is what I call it. But if you actually engage, if you had like Paula Dean next to you, teaching you, the next time you go to actually make it, you're gonna be a little bit better than if you just watched her do it. You see what I mean? So we can do the mock sessions, we can talk their ears off, but until there's somebody actually next to them that it just gets a jump start on that learn as you go. And that's something I would like to see in the future. For if I'm at UMKC or FAU, I'd shoot them an email to try and get that done, but I think it would be a great addition to, even if you don't have SI, maybe starting off with that idea.
And again, it takes a little bit of the fear out of that very first SI session. You know, you walk in there and you sort of freeze, because even though you've had training, you haven't actually done it yourself. So having a co-facilitator who can pop in here and there and make suggestions or redirect you right down the correct path certainly will take a lot of the anxiety out, especially as individuals get comfortable doing their first few SI meetings.
Yeah, and generally the students who come the first week are the ones that are going to be coming regularly. So if you have your person there, your co-facilitator there that first couple sessions, the next time you go in, you're going to see that familiar face that's the student that's always going to be there, and you're already comforted. So you're not going in blind with people that you didn't. So I think, again, I haven't done it yet, so I can't say for certain it's going to work, but I think it sounds good. So, there you go. And that's just our contact information. It's going to be popped up in a second. That's it. Is there any questions? Or, we went a little over. Apologies. But we started a little late. Scotch late. Just a scotch.
So I just, before do we have until the bottom of the hour?
No, we are 5 minutes past right now.
Oh, we are 5 minutes past. I just wanted to say very quickly that the reason that I feel so passionately about this program is because I want to pay it forward. Others were there for me when I had questions and needed support, and so I want to be that person, right, to new individuals coming in. But also this peer mentoring program really develops people's skills so that they're not only successful in SI, but they're successful after they graduate and pursue their careers.
I was just going to comment that the comment that you made, you receive the same help that you want to pay it forward is the number one quality that I look for when I hire my tutors. Otherwise, it's kind of, yes, so thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
And student development, right? Developing individuals so that they are successful in their career. And by the way, how many of you had a word in your head in terms of looking what we look for in a mentor and actually saw it pop up on the screen?
All of them.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Well, thank you for your attention. We really hope that you consider having your own peer mentoring program. If you don't have one, it's been highly successful for us, and we wish the same for you.